There we go. All right. Rao, you want to kick us off with the technical update?
All right. So welcome to Community Update 206. So the network status by and large is the same, and I'll speak to the LLBM network, which has been a little bit dynamic in just a little bit. So, but basically the team is fully back after the holidays. I think this is the first week everybody's back. And we have Alexi has joined the team on a part-time basis. He's right now learning the ropes, setting up his own development environment and figuring out how to start our node locally and how to connect to the network and the GitHub environment, and starting to work on some small tasks with Dennis and Stas at this time. So we're glad to have him start explore the RChain platform and for his interest in the platform. So that's where we are with the team. The LLBM NotZipper has been making good progress with the block merge implementation. Right now, basically, we are doing a fair amount of discussion and review pretty much every dev stand-up on this to keep things moving, to make sure that the design and the implementation are in sync. So that's continuing. And Tomislav, in addition to guiding the team, is working on some issue related with protobufs, how protobufs 3.0 standard behaves or is specified versus what we have in the code base. There is a little bit of a difference between the two in terms of how either defaults or missing values are managed. So he's putting a fix for that on the client side to make sure that that works. And I think we may need to do some communication with anybody that's implementing things on the client side around that. So we will be doing that. The other thing he's looking into is there's a cost mismatch error. So where this came from, the LLBM testnet is being fairly heavily tested by the community. So I really appreciate that. This is very important for the community to be doing that. I gave a shout out to Mr. Junfai and Linda 2878 before, and I want to add a couple more people, Klinu and Raphael, this round. So in all of that, we're discovering a couple of bugs. So we have, for example, in case of insufficient flow, we're getting a crash instead of a graceful exit. So that's something that the team is looking to fix. The other thing that we're running into with very high speed of adding blocks now, we seem to be running out of Java heap. So the team is looking into that. For example, the testnet went up to 2.5 million blocks. And then the nodes seem to have crashed. So we're looking into that to see what the source of that is, whether it's a configuration issue, maybe we need to do something differently from a configuration standpoint, or whether there's something in the code that needs to be looked into to resolve that. But all of that testing is helpful. It's helping us find all these different scenarios, and I noticed that each of the members is doing things a little bit differently. So that variety is what is very helpful to us. So please do more testing on there if you're not already, and encourage anybody that you know to do some testing on the LLBM testnet. Dennis is working on tests for the PR that he has. That's already, the PR itself is in the LLBM testnet at this point in time. I believe it's integrated into the code because the preliminary tests and everything has passed on that, but he's doing more testing on it. One other piece on there that he's working on is improving the cache management in that algorithm, and then that'll come in as another PR. So he's working with Alexei to improve that. Basically, he's got multiple caches right now that he's trying to consolidate into a single cache so that there's not as much memory consumption. The other thing he has going is that there's a little bit of extra storage being seen, which we were not expecting. It's not clear if it's because of how LLVM allocates storage based on the speed of entries coming in, because LLVM does have that behavior where it sees that a lot of entries are coming in. It just goes ahead and allocates much higher memory so that it doesn't have to keep doing it repeatedly. Whether it's because of that or whether it's something in the algorithm, that's what he's investigating. So he's creating an in-memory implementation of his code and then looking at the size with an in-memory implementation that eliminates LLVM versus including LLVM and seeing how the two compare. So that's another task he's doing. Stas has completed the GraphZ task, and he's working on a small, on a bug that was in the help wanted list for a while now to prevent deploys on the read-only node. In addition, he's also doing a learning task to convert some Haskell to Scala and compare, and he's going to present to the team so that the new members of the team can understand the import of how we are using Scala in our code base. So that's another thing that he's doing. So he's learning and he's going to teach the new guys his learnings. Will is working on the cost mismatch bug in addition to Tomslav, and then he and Tomslav are also looking into making RevDefine be able to be usable across the environments. For example, we have, right now it's working on the mainnet, we have the testnet. We are also standing up a couple of shards, one for an enterprise customer and one for RPC, RChain publishing, and one for Dazzle. So we want to make sure that we have the block explorer available on all of those. So there is some discussion going on as to whether the current architecture is the simplest or most elegant thing to be able to use it on all these things, or whether we can improve that and then make the necessary changes. So that's a piece of work that's going on, because all of these different shards that we're setting up will need their own block explorer. So along those lines, we had talked a few times in the past about the fact that the minimum flow price is now a parameter. So as we get closer to deploying hard fork 2, we want to make sure that all the wallet makers, all the wallets are aware of and are able to deal with that situation. So if you're using any particular wallet, please alert your wallet maker that they need to accommodate this minimum flow price as a parameter. If there are any communications necessary, and there sure will be related to hard fork 2, we will start doing some communications and expectation setting with exchanges also in the near future. So that, I think, is pretty much all I wanted to cover for now on this. Any comments, questions on any of this?
I have a question about item 9.
Item 9, okay.
And I guess this question would largely be directed at Raphael, but for the general community as well. Does this mean that there are going to be changes necessary to RChain Toolkit and RChain API?
I guess so. So I think we would have to understand, so is it an additional parameter that must be provided for the signature?
Let's see.
Yeah, if yes, it means that, of course, the libraries that communicate with Ernode will have to be upgraded as well.
That is correct. With the hard fork 2, there will be an update to the libraries. I think actually that's already in place, but we can figure out where you can start testing that, Raphael. I think that's the question now is, is there a version where you can play with the new API changes, right? So
yeah, I think we will discuss this on Discord, but maybe RChain toolkit does not need upgrade, but you will have to ask a node for the current. No, but I don't know enough about it to talk about it. So yeah, we'll chat on Discord.
Yeah, you can actually join the Friday. I mean, you do join most of the dev stand-up calls, so joining the Friday call is another option too. So, or maybe you can start on Discord, and then on Friday we can get any questions you have resolved, so that you can move forward with that. So, but beyond Raphael, I mean, basically all the wallet makers also need to update. Is the other thing. That's the communication I wanted to get out. But maybe between now and after the conversation with Raphael, what we will do is we will create a description of really what has changed and what people need to do differently from what they're doing with the current. And then that should be sufficient for at least people to have an idea of what they're supposed to do in their code. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Very good.
I'll ask a question about item 10.
Mm-hmm.
The shards that we are standing up, are they with the hard fork 2 code?
Not at the moment, because the hard fork 2 code is not ready, right? So it's still being developed and tested. So at the moment, for example, the enterprise shard we're setting up for sure is a current O12.4 based shard, and most likely the RChain publishing and Dazzle shards will also be the same. To the extent that those are needed now. Now, if we don't need them immediately, there may be some time we could do with hard fork 2. But for now, the plan is to go ahead, stand up the shard with the current code base, and then update them the same way we would update the mainnet. Does that answer your question?
That answers my question.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, over to you, Greg.
Thank you, Rao. Appreciate it. Yeah, it is important that we communicate across as many channels as possible for all the vendors that are currently using the mainnet, that these APIs will be changing. So if anyone in the community knows of someone who is maybe not listening to our communications on this front attentively, please pass the message along as well. Okay, we had a good board meeting. Largely it was informational. There was a good conversation about bringing someone on board. So I would like, not to put you on the spot, Ting, but if you'd like to just give a wave, say hi to the community. Ting is going to be helping RChain with our enterprise engagement and business development. Ting, would you like to give a shout out?
Hi, hello everybody. I do look forward to work with you all.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. I've known Ting since before I was at Microsoft, and we both worked at Microsoft together. So we go back a long way, and already Ting has helped us uncover some significant opportunities. So looking forward to working with you, Ting, as well.
Yeah, welcome, Ting.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Daryl, are you ready to give the week in review?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Here's the week in review for January 6th to today, January 12th. Last Thursday, there was no governance committee call. Last Thursday, there was a work study. They did a state channel and object capability tutorial review. On Friday, in the Climate Coordination RCast, they discussed extreme weather in 2021, the overly happy depiction of heat waves in rich countries, and the new hit film Don't Look Up. They also discussed the implications of the metaverse, and Greg suggested a new segment for the RCast. On Monday, in the Casper Stand-Up, they covered an approach to implementing OSLF in a functional language with first-class types. Also on Monday in the RDev member co-op planning, they did a Rolang boot camp, Rolang.cloud discussion, and did Rolang chat live coding. Yesterday in the communications working group, we discussed aligning our available team and resources around our 2022 marketing goals. And this morning in the active member hangout, Bill and Theo discussed the work they're doing towards RChain Academy and Rolang tutorials. Raphael showed up and I asked him about the logistics of creating user pages or domains in DAPI for my music streaming social token network, DApp, that I call Imano. And that brings us to now.
Thank you, Daryl. Any questions or comments for Daryl? Great. We have lots of exciting things that we just can't talk about here, but we will be talking about in the closed door sessions on Friday. There'll be both the 11 a.m. Pacific time call and the 5 p.m. Pacific time call. So if you can't make one, maybe you can make the other. Lots of exciting things. We also are going to need to bump this call 1 hour later, so 12 p.m. Pacific time. Okay.
I would like to comment before we close the meeting that it's my observation, at least, that there's a certain complexity that is developing through the various efforts that are in RChain right now.
Yes.
And we're starting to see ideas and realizations of those ideas in a way that is growing very, very rapidly.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to contribute, jump on board, because we're doing some really exciting stuff nowadays.
Yeah, that I was going to say something to that effect. I think that next week we're going to see some interesting presentations from the RPC and other teams, if I understand correctly. So
Excellent.
yeah. Good. All right. So now is the time. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, feel free. Please jump in, speak your piece. Okay, very good. Thank you all. I really appreciate your engagement. Please stay safe, stay warm, and we will see you on the other side.